What is going on, fight fans? Gervonta Davis comes out with a majority draw as he and Lamont Roach had an exciting, I'm going to say an exciting six and a half round fight last night in New York. Let me start by saying, first of all, being the fact that Davis is from Baltimore and Roach is from DC, that's the DMV area. I did not understand why they didn't put on this fight in the DMV. They could have put it right there where the Wizards play. They could have put it in, somewhere over there on that side of the country instead of going up into New York. I think that would have been big for the DMV. Two fighters from that area who know each other from the amateurs fighting each other. All right, now that I got that off my chest, let me move on to my pros and my cons. My pros, let me start with Gervonta Davis. The pros would be, as usual, we know he starts out slow, but about the second half of the fifth round, he began to pick it up. I think he began to get Lamont's timing down, and he started throwing hard shots. I do like the fact that Davis was throwing a right hand to the body whenever they got on the inside. He was throwing a straight left. And I like the fact that he really mixed his punches up, and he was throwing some timing off of his punches. Sometimes you would see him take a little bit of speed off the jab so he can land a shot to the body. I thought that he did a fairly, I would say he did a pretty decent job offensively. As for the cons for Davis, starting slow. I think that if he could have picked it up in those, I'm telling you, that first 5.5 rounds was really a filler round. Usually fighters take a round, sometimes maybe two and a half, but they really were filling each other out those first 5.5 rounds. Like I said, the action didn't pick up until the second half of that fifth round. If Davis could have picked it up a little bit earlier, maybe he would have come out with the decision instead of this thing being a majority draw. As for Lamont Roach, the pros would be he had a good game plan. At first, his game plan seemed to be to come in with the jab, to get on the inside and throw shots. I thought I had an issue with the fact that I thought he was getting out of his game plan a little bit because, like I said, in that fifth round, particularly the first half before the action heated up, he started doing a lot of talking. He started getting out of his game plan. I thought that Gervonta was getting in his head. But a pro would be that he did get back into his game plan, and he began to do a lot of counter punching. He seemed to be a little weary of Davis' power the first half of the fight, but the second half of the fight, he really turned it up and realized that in order for him to catch Davis, he was going to have to take some to give some. I love the left uppercut that Lamont Roach was throwing, catching Davis coming in. I like the looping overhand right that he was throwing, and I like the straight right hand, and he did a decent amount of body work. The cons would be the firefight. Now, I know I said I like the fact that he showed some heart getting in there, but Gervonta Davis is not the type of guy that you want to get into a firefight with. And I thought that Lamont Roach was going to get stopped around the 10th or 11th round because I said, you know what, he's getting too comfortable. He's trying to counter too much, and Davis is going to eventually catch him on a chin flush with a hard left or a right, but that did not happen. He made it to the end of the fight. Let's talk about the fight. As I already mentioned, the first 5.5 rounds seemed to be more filler rounds, but from the second half of the fifth round to the end, it was a lot of action. It was pretty exciting. Both fighters keeping a fight in the middle of the ring. You did not see a lot of holding. Guys were not leaning on the ropes. It was a beautiful boxing match, in my opinion. Boxing to the very definition of the word, because they kept the fight pretty much in the center of the ring. They circled each other. They sidestepped. They fall on the front foot, they fall on the back foot. I thought that second half of the fight was a pretty interesting fight. No one got knocked down, except I do want to throw this in here. It did seem that Gervonta Davis took a knee when he went to the corner. That was kind of an odd sequence that the ref kind of let go on, because it did seem like he took a knee and then ran to the corner real quick to get his eye wiped because maybe something flew in his eye. Seemed that the ref would have said, hey, man, I have to count that as a knockdown. You can't take breaks in the middle of the fight. But the referee nor the commission said there was anything wrong with it, so the fight went on. We get to the end, and it is a majority draw. I thought that it was going to be a squeaky close decision for Gervonta Davis, like 115, 113. Yet instead, we get a majority draw. So now we go to what happens from here. Of course, a lot of people will say that they would like to see a rematch because you can't be a pound for pound best in boxing and come out with a majority draw with a fight that close. So what does Gervonta Davis do? Does he rematch Lamont Roach? Now, at the end of the fight, he said that Yes, that's something that can happen, but he doesn't see it happening this year, which I kind of get. It kind of reminds me of something that Roy Jones said. I allude to this a lot. I don't remember what fight it was, but Roy Jones was calling a fight, and it was a close fight by the favorite. And they asked Roy what he thinks should happen, and Roy said, "Man, when you in a fight like that and it's a close fight, you should just move on to something else. Don't worry about the rematch. Just be happy that you got out with either the win or the draw. Just move on to something else." Which brings us to that something else. There are names out there like Teofimo Lopez, like Shakur Stevenson, that we all would like to see Gervonta Davis take. But of course, now you get into the promotional issues. You have Eddie Hearn, who is promoting Shakur Stevenson, and they are doing a lot of those fights over in the Middle East, and they think that it's a chance that it can't happen. I believe that boxing in the Middle East is about business, and if that fight would make a lot of money, I could see that fight happening. I know that Gervonta had some words earlier this week for the promoters over there, but if they put the money on the table, I absolutely believe that that fight can happen. If not, how about Teofimo Lopez? They're saying because of the promotional issues, that fight may or may not can happen. But I believe that he has to make that type of a fight happen, because if he's not going to rematch Lamont Roach, at least not this year, we can't see him in the ring with another sub-tier fighter, if you know what I mean. As for Lamont Roach, I would be, really screaming to the top of my lungs for that rematch with Gervonta Davis. If not, get him another high-level fight, because I think that he showed that he's not only worthy to fight again for a lightweight title, but he showed that he can stand in there. He went 12 and almost got close to winning with one of the best fighters in the world. All right, fight fans, what were your thoughts on the fight? Did you think that Davis won the fight? Did you think that Roach won the fight? Or were you happy with the draw because it may have been a little too close to call? And what do you want to see next from each of these guys? Do you want to see the immediate rematch? Or do you want to see the rematch later in the year? Or do you want to see these guys go another way? All right, if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can keep talking boxing. That's all I got for this one. I'll let y'all later.